What's up, everybody? This is A7X Fan Ben. It is February 26th. Kayaking off the coast of La Jolla near the sea caves and stuff like that, La Jolla Cove. And I wanted to make a video because I always like making videos when I'm on the water, because I think it's kind of fitting given that Pirates CSG is a naval game. And the topic for today is just a brief little overview of cooperative play or team play. So this is something I did just I think 2 weekends ago with Gazer Beam and a couple of the Bowen brothers in LA when I drove up there to play. And we had like a 2v2 60-point game or 80, whatever it was. And basically the teams were based on, you could base it on a lot of different things, but we did die rolls. So we would roll a die, and then whoever got like a match first, I think, was put on a team with each other. So like Gazer Beam and I rolled the same number, and therefore we were on a team together. And then it so happened that both of the Bowen brothers were on a team as well, which is kind of ironic. And there's a lot of different ways you could do it too. You could just vote or prearrange teams, things like that, or base it on factions or what fleets people bring to the table that day, things like that. Or you could build fleets after teams are established. I think we did it. I think our fleets were established before, like fully established before we rolled for the teams. But a lot of different ways you can do it. The most interesting part of this whole experience of cooperative play for me was like the dynamics of like how to work with your teammate, and like the private conversations that happen are really fascinating, because as soon as we were pretty much ready to play, I knew that I wanted to strategize with Gazer Beam, because it's like we were going first, or at least I think I was going first, and I had Calypso, the battle report, trying to post like today, I believe, and I had Calypso in my fleet face down, of course, so she's ready to pop up and start making whirlpools. She actually didn't get the roll the first turn, which was a problem, but immediately it's like, well, I know I have to place a whirlpool with an L of Calypso's ship, and then with an L of a Wild Island, and like, what is Gazer Beam thinking? Like, how does his fleet mesh with mine so that we can place a whirlpool that's optimal for both of us, or specifically for one of us, like on the first turn? In this case, the plan was to send like an extra action deliverance through the whirlpool to attack some native canoes, because they were docked at a Wild Island, of course, so they could be shot at while they're not at their home island. But Calypso didn't actually even end up having the die roll work, so it was kind of all for naught. But still a really, really interesting dynamic. And then throughout the game, there were like various side conversations happening. And it's hard to do that with the other people right there. So we would like go into like an adjacent room and have like a little strategy talk on like which islands we were trying to hit with which gold runners, or who should capture this derelict of the enemies, or if the other person should capture it and then the other person should tow it on the turn afterwards, things like that. So a lot of super interesting things happening there. I highly recommend trying out the team or co-op element of the game at some point. It's super, super fascinating to me. I want to do it more, just to experiment with it and like see what it's like. I want to play with different people. I definitely want to be on a team with Zarek someday, just because we've played against each other so much, and we know each other as players so much after all the campaign games and things like that. So lots of interesting possibilities to explore. There's also kind of wild possibilities in terms of player count. Our 2v2 is kind of like what I would think of as like kind of the basic or standard team game, because that would be the minimum number you would need for teams, of course. But you could also do like 3 versus 3, things like that. Or if you had 8 players, you could do 4v4. I think that would get kind of bizarre at times, or some people maybe wouldn't want to be on a team with that many people at once. Might want to play for themselves instead. But and then that's another like really interesting one, is the game is called Pirates after all, so you could actually betray your teammate. I mean, this doesn't really do you any good unless like the rules changed or something, but you could like betray your teammate if you didn't like the way they were playing or something, or if you like you actually kind of want the other players to win for whatever reason, or you have some kind of ulterior motive or whatever, which could just lead to an ugly situation if people didn't want to play with you anymore because of that. But anyway, just lots of different possibilities. Now there's just so many variables. There's already a ton of variables in Pirates CSG with like setup and like decision making and strategy in the first place, and then teams like kind of puts that on its head and changes it up like a lot. So it's really interesting to see how people might build fleets if you do have teams established before you build fleets, how that changes what you do. If you try to make like a Franco-Spanish fleet where one player plays French, one plays Spanish or whatever, or tries to develop like synergies, like maybe if you know you're on a team with somebody, maybe one person can afford to go pure mercenary as long as the other person actually has some good gold runners or whatever. So, and then also synergy between pieces like Calypso or Fog Hoppers, things that can teleport, or like support ships of that kind of nature. It's really interesting to think about. So we got a plane going overhead right now. So let me know in the comments below what you think of this idea. And question of the day would be, have you played in teams before? Have you used the team dynamic? If so, how did it go? Who were you on a team with? What did you think of it? Would you do it again? Things like that. Kind of like a lot of questions that day maybe. But anyway, the main one is, have you done it? And then I guess if not, would you like to try it, or do you plan on trying it? So I would highly recommend it at least once. It kind of does, I don't know, I think in some ways maybe I've become too gamey as a player, or like overly competitive. I think lately I've been a little too like competitive in my like thought process with playing, just because I've played so many times before, and like I've cared too much about like winning lately, which can be kind of a bad thing sometimes, of course. But anyway, let me know what you think of the idea down in the comments. And this is San Ben from La Jolla, near San Diego, in beautiful SoCal, signing out for now.